She didn't tell anyone, but lately, her house made her tired. Not because it was dirty, but because every shelf, every drawer, every room was holding on to more than just stuff. It was holding memories, guilt, what-ifs, and maybes. Until one morning, Mickey stood in front of a narrow shelf by the window. It held 5 little trinkets, a porcelain angel, 2 faded photos, a plastic vase of artificial flowers, and a candle that hadn't been lit in years. She didn't scold herself. She didn't get a trash bag. She simply touched each item one by one, set them gently aside, wiped the shelf clean, and left it empty. Her daughter returned home later and asked, "Are you going to put something new there?" Mickey smiled softly. "No," she said. "That space is already full." Full of what? Peace. And that was the beginning. Not of a project, not of a purge, but of a quiet return to something so many women long for, but rarely say aloud: lightness, clarity, ease. This isn't a story about minimalism. It's not about organizing bins or trendy systems. It's about something deeper. What if the real weight in your home isn't physical, but emotional? And what if just one shelf, one choice, one habit could help you breathe easier again? In this video, we won't ask you to throw everything away. Instead, we'll walk together, slowly, gently, through 10 beautiful habits inspired by Japanese elders like Miki. Habits that don't strip your home bare. They fill it with intention. So take a deep breath. You don't need to do it all. You just need to begin with one small act of grace, because sometimes the most powerful change starts with an empty shelf. 1. The unexpected power of empty space. There was something about that shelf. After Mickey cleared it, she didn't fill it again. Days passed, and still, it remained empty. And yet, it never felt bare. Each morning, sunlight poured across its surface, and every time Mickey passed by, she paused, just for a breath. Not out of duty, but because something in that small, quiet space made her feel at ease. Her daughter didn't understand it at first. "Isn't that just wasted space?" she asked. Mickey smiled and gently replied, "No, this space is full of pause, full of peace." That was the moment she introduced her to a concept treasured for centuries in Japanese culture. Ma, the space between things. You see, in American homes, we often fear empty space. We rush to fill blank walls, cover shelves, stuff drawers. We associate emptiness with something missing, but Ma teaches the opposite. It's not emptiness, it's intentional breathing room. A pause between notes that makes the melody sweeter. A blank space in a painting that brings focus to what matters most. In traditional Japanese homes, Ma is everywhere. The floor left open around a single flower. The silence between 2 spoken thoughts. The simplicity of a room that invites stillness, not stimulation. When Mickey moved into her daughter's home, she felt the weight, not in square footage, but in energy. There were things everywhere, framed photos on every surface, figurines, candles, boxes, stacks of mail. Nothing was wrong, but everything was loud. So she began gently. One shelf, one surface. She didn't declutter everything, she simply made space. And something remarkable happened. That one empty shelf changed the rhythm of the room. It caught the morning light. It invited quiet. It became a visual exhale. For women over 50, especially those who've spent decades building homes, raising families, saving, just in case. Letting a shelf stay empty can feel strange, even wasteful. But here's the truth. You're not losing space, you're gaining breath. Because when you give one small area room to breathe, it gives something back: clarity, lightness, stillness. So if you're wondering where to start, don't reach for the storage bins just yet. Don't print out a checklist. Start with one shelf. Wipe it clean, leave it empty. Not because you ran out of things to put there, but because you finally made room for peace. And sometimes, that's the most valuable thing a home can hold. 2. Why decluttering is not about less, but about love. It started with a coat, old, worn at the cuffs, soft from decades of use. It had belonged to Miki's late husband, the man she used to walk with through Kyoto's quiet alleyways, whose laughter still echoed in her memory like warm wind through leaves. One morning, her daughter found her sitting quietly with that coat folded in her lap. No tears, no rush, just hands resting gently on the fabric, and a whisper, "Thank you." Then she placed it into a small donation box. Her daughter blinked. "Wasn't that sentimental?" Miki nodded. "Yes. That's why I'm letting it go with care, not guilt." You see, in Japanese culture, there's a quiet ritual called Kansha, the practice of gratitude. It's not just for people, it's for objects, for moments, for the things that once held meaning. Miki had lived long enough to know that letting go isn't always about clutter. Sometimes it's about closure. In American homes, we often approach decluttering with pressure. We purge, we toss, we feel overwhelmed and ashamed. We look at old gifts with guilt. We hold on to just-in-case items with fear. But Miki had learned something different. Decluttering isn't about owning less. It's about appreciating more. Before she let go of anything, she would pause. Hold the item, feel what it once gave her. Then, if its time had passed, she released it. Not as trash, but as a farewell. That's the shift. Because when you let go with gratitude, there's no regret. There's only respect for what was and for who you are now. This is especially powerful for women over 50. After decades of keeping, storing, saving, we begin to carry invisible weights, things tied to people, to past roles, to versions of ourselves we've quietly outgrown. Letting go can feel like betrayal. But what if it wasn't? What if saying goodbye to an item is not the end of a memory, but the beginning of lightness? Try this. The next time you hold something you haven't used in years, ask yourself, am I keeping this out of love or out of guilt? If it's love, find a place of honor for it. If it's guilt, thank it and let it go. Because when we release what no longer serves us, we don't lose ourselves. We come home to who we are now. 3. Vertical storage, the small habit that changes everything. The first time Miki opened the dresser in her new bedroom, she froze for a moment. It wasn't messy. It was heavy. Sweaters stacked like pancakes, shirts layered in deep piles. Pajamas somewhere in there, but where? To find one thing, she had to dig. To reach it, she had to disturb everything else. And by the end of it, she didn't just feel tired, she felt disconnected from her own space. So, Miki did something simple. She sat down on the floor, folded one shirt at a time, and placed them upright, side by side, like books on a shelf. Not stacked, not buried, just standing tall, waiting to be seen. This method, called tachoki in Japanese, is beautifully ordinary. It doesn't require bins or labels or color-coded drawers. It just changes one small thing, direction. And with that, everything changed. She could see every shirt at a glance. No more digging, no more guessing, just quiet clarity. But it wasn't just the dresser. Miki moved on to the kitchen drawers, utensils no longer dumped in a pile, but stored upright in small cups. Documents filed vertically instead of crammed into envelopes. Even towels, yes, towels, stood folded and peaceful, like little linen soldiers. You may be thinking, that's nice, but why does it matter? Here's why, especially for older women. When we reach, bend, squat, or search, our bodies notice. It's tiring, it's frustrating, and often it keeps us from using the things we actually love. But vertical storage brings ease. It turns every drawer into a calm conversation, not a stressful excavation. And there's more. Visual clutter creates mental clutter. A messy drawer may only take seconds to open, but the feeling of it lingers, like background noise you can't turn off. Miki's new system didn't just organize her home, it organized her mind. Each drawer opened became an invitation to breathe. Each cabinet became a place of calm, and perhaps best of all, it cost nothing, just time, intention, and a quiet belief that how we store things reflects how we care for ourselves. So here's your invitation. Choose one drawer today. Maybe it's your socks, maybe your dish towels. Fold them small, stand them up. Give them a moment of structure, of dignity. Then tomorrow, open that drawer and notice how different it feels. Because peace doesn't always require less. Sometimes it simply asks us to see what we already have, clearly, fully, and with care. 4. The guilt of letting go and how to release it. Gently, Miki once held a porcelain teacup in her hand. Delicate hairline crack near the rim. She hadn't used it in years, but couldn't bring herself to let it go. "It was a wedding gift," she whispered. And that whisper carried 1,000 quiet emotions: gratitude, guilt, memory, fear of forgetting. For many women, especially those over 50, letting go isn't a decision, it's a reckoning. Because when you've held on to something for decades, you're not just holding an object, you're holding a role, a relationship, a version of yourself that may no longer exist. So we keep things because we think they are the memory, because we feel guilty for wanting space, because no one taught us that it's okay to outgrow, even what we once loved. But Miki had learned a gentler way. She didn't declutter by asking, "Do I still need this?" She asked, "Does this still bring me life?" It was never about utility. It was about energy. Some things, she'd say, just felt tired, not broken, not useless, just finished. And when that happened, she honored them, held them with care, whispered a soft "thank you," and let them go, not with shame, but with grace. You see, guilt says you're wasting something, but grace says you've received what you needed. Now let someone else receive it too. Letting go isn't forgetting, it's remembering with love and making space for who you are now. So if your closet is filled with clothes you haven't worn in 10 years, if your drawers hold gifts you never really loved, if your shelves carry stories that feel more like pressure than peace, pause. Touch one thing. Ask yourself, am I keeping this out of love or out of obligation? If it's love, display it proudly. If it's obligation, thank it and set it free. Because your home should reflect your present, not just your past. And the more we let go gently, the more we reclaim our space, not as a museum of what was, but as a sanctuary for what still wants to grow. 5. Creating flow. Decluttering by category, not by room. At first, Miki made the same mistake we all do. She picked a room, her bedroom, and told herself, "Today, I'll fix this." But 1 hour in, she was surrounded. Shoes under the bed, receipts in the dresser, a box of old Christmas cards tucked behind her scarves. And suddenly, she wasn't decluttering. She was overwhelmed. You see, when you go room by room, you don't just face objects. You face different kinds of decisions all at once. Each drawer demands something different. Practical thinking here, sentimentality there, frustration in between. So Miki stepped back, and instead of tackling her house like a battlefield, she approached it like a quiet garden. One section, one type. One season at a time, she began with clothing, not just in the bedroom, but everywhere. Coats by the front door, scarves in the car, shoes under the couch. She gathered all of it into one space, and suddenly, the decision became simpler. What do I truly wear? What feels like me now? When that category was done, she moved to books, then to papers, then to miscellaneous household goods, and finally, when her heart felt ready, sentimental items. That order matters, because by the time Miki reached the things that tugged at her memories, she had already built confidence. She had practiced clarity. She trusted her own choices again. And perhaps most importantly, she felt momentum. Because when you finish a category, you don't wonder, is the room done? You know, that part of my life is clear. This approach is powerful for older women because it gives back control. You're not bouncing from task to task, chasing emotions. You're making one kind of decision at a time, and every clear category becomes a small victory. So if you're ready to begin, don't start with the attic. Start with socks. Start with expired pantry items. Start with something simple, so your spirit remembers what it feels like to complete something. Because lasting change doesn't come from rushing, it comes from rhythm, from flow, from honoring one part of your life at a time and letting that flow carry you forward. 6. Micro-tidying, the ritual that keeps peace. Alive every morning, just after the kettle began to sing, Miki would walk to one small spot in the house, not the whole kitchen. Not the entire bathroom, just one surface, a windowsill, a corner of the counter, the edge of the sink. She would wipe it gently, rearrange a vase, straighten a folded towel. It took less than 5 minutes, but the feeling lasted all day. This quiet ritual, she called it her suji moment. In Japanese, suji means more than just cleaning. It means caring, not out of obligation, but out of respect. Not for the house, but for herself. Because tidying, in this way, isn't about waiting for a mess. It's about preventing one, gently, quietly, before it begins. For so many women over 50, tidying has always been an event. A big Saturday chore, a deep clean before company, a project that feels heavier each year. But Miki's way felt different. It wasn't about doing more, it was about doing less, but with more care. And something surprising happened. The more she honored small spaces daily, the longer they stayed tidy, not because she enforced it, but because she respected it. Her daughter noticed. There were fewer cleaning days, fewer missing keys, fewer moments of frustration. The house began to feel light, not because everything was perfect, but because everything had a rhythm. And here's the secret. You don't need time. You don't need energy. You just need one spot and 5 minutes. Choose a drawer. Choose a shelf. Wipe it. Tend to it. Not to impress, but to connect. Because when we take care of our surroundings in small, steady ways, those spaces begin to care for us in return. They ground us. They welcome us. They remind us that we are still capable, still present, still powerful in the quietest of ways. So tomorrow morning, before the rush, before the noise, choose one little spot and give it your attention. That 5-minute act might just be the most peaceful moment of your day. 7. Seasonal living. Aligning your home with nature. Spring didn't arrive all at once in Miki's home. It crept in quietly. Through a thinner curtain, a single budding branch placed by the door, a pastel dish towel folded gently on the counter. No decorations, no shopping sprees, just small, loving gestures, welcoming the season as if it were an old friend. You see, Miki didn't believe in static spaces. She believed homes should breathe with the year. In Japanese culture, this idea is called shun, the gentle rhythm of aligning daily life with the natural world. As the earth shifted, so did her home. In spring, she folded away heavy fabrics, let morning light flood the room, placed a sprig of fresh herbs near the kitchen sink. In summer, she embraced open space, swapped thick rugs for cool mats, lit citronella candles in place of pine. In autumn, she invited warmth, soft textures, deeper colors, dried leaves in a wooden bowl, a small jar of cinnamon sticks by the stove, and in winter, she tucked in layered cozy throws, brought out a single cherished lantern that bathed the room in amber light. Each shift was subtle, but it made the home feel alive, present, connected. For many women, especially those in the later chapters of life, it's easy to let a house fall into habit. The same pillow on the couch for 10 years, the same candle scent, regardless of the month, the same decor, unchanged since the kids moved out. But Shun offers us something different. It says, let your space reflect where you are now, not where you were. And it doesn't require anything new. You don't have to spend a dime. Sometimes, honoring the season means simply putting one thing away, a winter blanket in June, a holiday centerpiece in April, a color that no longer fits the sky outside your window. Because when your home reflects the time you're living in, you stop feeling stuck in time yourself. Try it. Look around today. What feels out of season? Not just in weather, but in spirit? What can you quietly fold away to make space for the moment you're in? Because just like the trees outside, you're allowed to change. And when your home changes with you, you don't just feel more grounded, you feel more alive. 8. Display only what you love. There's a quiet corner in Miki's home, nothing grand. Just a narrow wooden shelf by the window. On it, a single ceramic vase, handmade by her mother. Inside, one dried lavender stem. Above it, a soft scroll of calligraphy, brushed by her husband decades ago. That's it. Nothing more. And yet that small space holds everything. In Japan, this kind of sacred space is called a tokonoma, a simple alcove where one or two meaningful items are displayed with deep intention. Not to impress, but to reflect. Not to decorate, but to honor. Miki didn't fill every shelf in her house. She didn't feel the need to display every memory, every gift, every beautiful thing she ever owned. Because she knew, when everything is on display, nothing truly shines. Over the years, her daughter had filled the living room mantel with family photos, candles, souvenirs, little gifts from holidays past. It was warm, yes, but also overwhelming. Until one day, Miki asked gently, "What if we chose just one photo for now? The one that speaks the loudest in this season of life?" Together, they cleared the shelf. They didn't throw anything away, just tucked it safely in a box. And when the shelf was ready, they placed one frame in the center, a picture of the two of them, laughing on the porch last summer, sunlight in their eyes. Suddenly, the room felt still, not empty, meaningful. You see, this habit isn't about stripping your space bare, it's about curating your peace. Ask yourself, what object in this room do I truly love, right now, in this chapter of my life? If it had a spotlight all to itself, would it make you smile? Would it speak? Then give it that space. Let it breathe. Let it be seen. Because when we display only what we love, we don't just simplify our homes, we create reverence. We remind ourselves, this matters, I matter. So today, find one little area, a shelf, a nightstand, a windowsill, clear it, wipe it slowly, and place just one object you love there. Let it become your tokonoma. Let it center you. Because the things we choose to see every day should reflect the kind of life we still want to live.